Hi, first graders, it's Mrs. McGurl, and we are going to do some writing. To start off our lesson, I want us to look at the things that we talked about yesterday that are so important in sentences. We have learned that sentences always start with a capital letter. That's the first word of every sentence will always start with a capital. We also talked about it's so important to leave spaces between your words. It makes it easier for people to read, but each word needs to be separated with a space in a sentence. We also know that we need to use punctuation. We use punctuation at the end of the sentence, and if it's a sentence that's telling something, it's just a statement, we will put a period at the end. If it's a sentence that is saying something with a lot of emotion or a lot of expression, then you would use an exclamation mark at the end. If you're asking a question, then you would use a question mark at the end. Now there's other types of punctuation mark that we've talked about too. When someone's speaking, we use quotation marks, and when we need to take a pause or a breath, we put a comma. So there's many other types of punctuation, but in our first grade writing, we always want to make sure we're looking at the beginning of the sentence for a capital and the end of the sentence for some type of punctuation. And then the newest skill we talked about was always remembering the word I is always capitalized. So whenever we're doing our writing, we're also told to reread it to make sure it makes sense. And so today, that's kind of the skill that we're going to work on. We're going to have some sentences that are mixed up or scrambled up. And we're going to have to figure out how we can make them meaningful. We want to make sure that they're going to make sense. So I'm just going to look at one sentence at a time, and all of them are using the word that. Remember, we've been talking a lot about TH, and that has the TH in it. When I look at the words for the first sentence, I see we have a, that, is, and hat. Now I can use what I know all about sentences and figure out the first word of my sentence. Because first words always start with a capital, and I see one word. The word is has a capital I. So I'm going to start by writing is on the very first line. I also can figure out the very last word of the sentence. Do you know how? Because we put punctuation at the end of the sentence, and there's one word that is followed by a question mark. It's the word hat. So hat will go at the end. And there's my question mark. So now I have to figure out the order of the last two words. And so I'm going to read it, changing the order up, and see which one sounds right to me. Is a that hat? Or listen to this one. Is that a hat? I know which one sounded right. Do you? We would say, is that a hat? Or is that a hat? And then you would look at the picture and say, yes, that's a hat. We just put this sentence in order. It now makes sense. Let's look at the next sentence. Hat has that been. Do you know which word is the first word of our sentence? Ben, that's right, because it starts with a capital. A capital B, E, N. Now, Ben is also a name, and so we've learned that names start with capitals, but since it's the only word that has a capital letter, I'm going to put it first. Can you tell which word will go at the end of the sentence? The word that has punctuation with it, right? It's the word hat. Hat will go at the end, followed by the period. So now I'm to the point where I have to try out the words in different orders. Ben has that hat. Or Ben that has hat. Yes, the first one sounded right. Ben has that hat. And there it is. So I'm going to write has next and then that. And I'm going to reread my sentence. Ben has that hat. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go on to the final sentence. That bat like I. So I want you to think. Can you figure out the first word, the last word, put it in order and see if it makes sense? It's not that hard. There's a baseball bat there. So when I look at this, we saw I. Now, I is the only word with a capital letter, so we know that's first. But I would be capitalized even if it was in the middle of a sentence somewhere when it's a word by itself, okay? And you figured out bat goes at the end because it has the exclamation mark. So we've used I and bat. Now let's try it out. I that like bat, or I like that bat. Yep, I like that bat is the way we would speak. So I'm going to use like next, Like, and that. So I double check. I like that bat. I think we did a good job putting all of those mixed up sentences in the right order. We fixed them all up. You're going to do the same type of thing today when you go into IXL. You are going to need to unscramble some of the mixed up sentences. So have fun. I know you can do it. Bye-bye.